There's a reality that we all have to face at some point in our lives. And that reality is that by being just average, we can only go so far in life, and we put a lid on who we can become. And in 2025, the reality is that being average isn't just not good for you. It also could be very dangerous for you. So let me explain why today's video. My name is Tom, and I'm the founder of Vertical Motion, where we help good people become great leaders. Want to learn more about that? Check the link down below to see what we have to offer. But today, what I want to talk to you about is why being average just ain't enough in 2025. So there's a whole lot of things happening in January of 2025. We just had the really weird inauguration experience from DC. That's leading to a bunch of changes. I think you're going to see rollbacks and protections of labor rights and standards and things like that. There's also a whole bunch of billionaire tax cuts coming, which means that no, we're not going to be increasing the minimum wage. And that means wages will most likely stay flat and stagnant. So whatever you're making now is probably what you'll be making in 4 years from now if you stay in the same role. And so the reality is that, yes, inflation is still here. We are still watching prices rise, and it's not just natural inflation, it's now price gouging. That with the FTC being gutted, that's just going to get worse. And so the reality is that whatever your quality of life is right now, this is probably the best it will be if you stay in the same level of employment that you're in for the next couple of years. And so being average, just staying in that role, is just going to decrease your quality of life. And this is why it's so important that you go on the offense in your career now in 2025. So let's talk about some of the changes that are coming in 2025. First of all, AI is here, and it is eating the planet. Every single industry has some sort of impact on it by AI. And it's not that AI is going to take away your job. It's that the people who know how to use AI are going to take over your job. And that's really important. So one of the things that you need to be doing is getting smart about how AI can help enable you to do more and be more effective, and also rolling out AI efficiencies across your entire team. In addition to AI, we have automation taking over a lot of things. Like, when's the last time you actually ordered something from a person at McDonald's, for example? When's the last time you had someone check you out at Walmart? And there's all these other economic shifts that are coming because, quite honestly, I think you're going to see a lot of changes in how money is distributed in the United States and maybe around the world as well. And there could be other political turmoil, like tariffs, that lead to recessions or even something worse than that. And all of that means that there's just downward pressure on the cost of labor. So you have AI, automation, and political pressures that are suppressing all of the wage growth that we saw in 2021 and a little bit of 2022. And the positions at the higher ranks are getting fewer and farther between. So the competition is sharper now. And so I'm kind of painting a bleak picture here where it feels like all we're trying to do is just survive in the next coming years. But I actually think that you can turn this around and actually create an environment where you can thrive. And that's what I really want to talk about, is how you thrive in 2025. So there's really two reasons why someone would want to move up to the executive ranks, become a director, a vice president, or something like that. People who want to do that really for primarily two reasons: financial reasons and influence reasons. And let's talk about both of those because they're very important in 2025, in my opinion. First of all, let's talk about the financial impact. On average, vice presidents make somewhere between $180,000 and $240,000 in the United States annual salary. And they also have typically access to some sort of bonus pool or a executive compensation pool, like a management by objectives or MBO bonus. Vice presidents and sometimes directors, senior directors will have access to those kinds of bonuses. And if you compare what a vice president makes to what a director makes, it's about $50,000 a year more just in base and probably closer to $100,000 a year more in total compensation. More than that, if you're coming from the manager level up to the director level. So that's typically 120, 125, coming up to about 160, 180, right? That's also a $50,000 increase. And as we talked about in a previous video, these financial gains are really important because we're seeing the waterline go from used to be $50,000, now it's $100,000. I think it's more like $125,000. It could be $150,000 to stay above water by 2029. So I think it's really important that we understand how we grow our income so that we can stay above the waterline as inflation and other costs of living just skyrocket. And so to have financial freedom, you want to be able to land roles that are at a higher level, and you want to be able able to land roles in multiple places. You want to have a constant pipeline of opportunities where you can go should your organization change, should your organization decide to lay you off. You want to have opportunities to move to somewhere else as quickly as possible. And the higher you go, you can always step down a level and become a consultant in the role that you're doing right now, in between the executive roles that you're taking. So these are ways for you to start to take some financial control in your own life. So let's talk about the second reason why you need to work on becoming an executive in 2025, and that is influence. And this is really important to me, even more than the financial freedom. Having the ability to create safe spaces for employees is really important to me. I'm someone who firmly believes in the idea that business runs at the speed of trust. If you can build an organization and a team that reports to you that trusts not only in you, but also in each other, then your organization is going to thrive. And those people working for you are going to have a better quality of life than working for someone who doesn't quite deserve to be in that role. But the people who don't deserve to be in that role are super loud and noisy on LinkedIn and in interviews promising the world, right? We tend to hold ourselves back from making a bunch of noise about how we can make the world a better place and how we can create impact for our team because we just want our actions to speak for themselves. The reality is you have to raise your voice and actually put yourself out there so that people see you as a leader. It is uncomfortable for people who don't like to put themselves in a spotlight, but you have to do this in order to be seen as a leader. And this is part of what holds a lot of people back from taking the next step in their career. Imagine the influence that you can have on the team around you. Imagine having the ability to create a safe environment where people can express their ideas, very diverse ideas. You might have really quiet people in your team who all of a sudden start speaking up and sharing their ideas about how things could be better. And some of those ideas could turn out to be brilliant. Well, in a more toxic environment, they're not going to say anything. And people aren't going to trust each other, and they're not going to work as fast and efficiently, and they're probably going to be looking for jobs all the time. When you as a leader step up into a leadership role and start to create that environment that demonstrates business runs at the speed of trust, and you have created a high trust environment, other people take notice of that. And that's how you continue to grow your career, not just internally, but externally as well. And I can say a lot of things about culture in Fortune 500 companies. I won't. I'll just say that I don't necessarily like culture in Fortune 500 companies anymore, but there are plenty of small businesses and medium-sized businesses around the world that have amazing cultures. And it's people like you and me who make those cultures amazing. Pushing out toxic leaders that wreak havoc on organizations because of their chaotic leadership styles is something that we need to do. The people who actually want to lead for the right reasons, right? Not just for the financial gain, which I just said is important in 2025, but that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is creating these cultures where people feel safe to be diverse, where people feel safe to work together, to collaborate, to create more, to build more. That's still a thing, and we should be focusing on creating those kinds of environments. So becoming an executive allows you the agency to create those environments, to say, this is how I want to see things done. Let's do this together. Let's all work to create a good environment that we like. And those things will help create better work environments. It's crazy to me that people think that yelling at employees makes them work faster. It makes them work as fast as they need to not get yelled at. When you create environments where people can grow and thrive and find paths upwards in their own careers, those people will put in the extra mile because they want to see not only the growth in their organization, they want to see their own growth as well, and they feel empowered and excited to actually show up and do their work. And the third, and I think the most important reason why you should want to be an executive in 2025 is that the world needs leadership right now. In the business world, we are watching shareholders dominate everything. And I just think that's terrible for business in general. Small and medium-sized businesses aren't necessarily as impacted by this as large Fortune 500s and corporations that have public shareholders. If you're in a private company, you have the ability to shape the goals of the organization as an executive. And the goals of the organization should care more about other things than just shareholder value. I firmly believe in the concept of the triple bottom line, which means that you prioritize profit, people, and planet. Profit being maximizing shareholder value, but equally important is maximizing the value to employees and customers and vendors and suppliers and support staff and so forth, all of the people involved in an organization. And thirdly, the planet, making sure that we take care of not just, the environment, but also our community. If we're a local business, that we're leaning into our community as well. People, profit, planet. That's the triple bottom line. And I feel like we need more leaders who embody that spirit, because we have to pull back all of the control from shareholders. Giving complete control of a company to shareholders is like putting a fat guy in the back seat and letting him drive when he can't even reach the wheel and doesn't care where the car is going because he's going to jump out before it crashes anyway. This is insane, and I don't like this. I want to see leaders actually change culture from the inside out. And yes, this means it's a groundswell activity against all of the billionaires, sure. But the point is that we can do well and do good at the same time, but we have to step up and be willing to lead and show the way. So if you have a sense of leadership inside of you and you're a little bit nervous or hesitant about moving forward in your career, understand this. Like I said, first, financially, staying still and being average is going to get you nowhere except moving downward. We're not in the 1950s anymore. We are watching the erosion of the middle class. And if you're on the bottom side of it, you're not going to be in the middle class for very long. So you need to be understanding what's really happening financially to you around you. Look around and pay attention to how much money you actually need in order to live your life and retire at some point. Have money set aside for medical emergencies. Second, you should also be wanting to create safe environments for your teams where you can actually allow your team to thrive and grow. Your attrition rate will dive. Your ability to produce will increase. And people will see you as a great leader as you create great leaders around you. And third and finally, in the macro, we need leaders right now. We need people who have it inside of them to lead, to stand up and say, I will show us the way. And if you're somebody who feels that inside, but doesn't quite know how to actually activate that, there's ways to do it. And we have a program that walks people through that. You can learn about that by clicking the link down below. But take this moment to realize that 2025 is a really important inflection point in how corporate society works. There is going to be an ever-increasing gap between those up here and those down here. We want good people up here. We want good people pulling other people up with them. And if that's you, then you have an obligation, not just an opportunity, to actually affect change in the corporate environment that you live in the corporate environment you work in. So I want to give you 3 steps on how to move forward in this journey. If you are thinking about becoming an executive, you're a little bit nervous about taking on that responsibility, and what I just said to you resonates, then here's 3 things you can do right now to actually start moving forward in your executive career journey. First of all, you want to audit your career. Take a look at where you are in your career. Have you been in a role for 8, 9, 10 years? Have you been in a company for 12 years? Have you been job hopping with only 6 months in every position? Have you really struggled to hold a position? Have you been laid off multiple times? Have you been passed over for promotion? Have you felt stagnant? Take a minute to feel how your career is going right now and be honest with yourself. I like to use tools like Ikigai, which is a self-development tool that helps you kind of see what your life purpose should be, and then take a look at your career and see if that aligns with your life purpose. Quite honestly, a lot of us don't do work that's in alignment with our life purpose, and it drains us. This is why the work that I do now actually lights me up and energizes me, because I am in my Ikigai, which is to teach leadership. I used to have a 25-year career in the satellite and space and defense industry, and while I was very good at what I did, I made good money, and the world needed it, I didn't love it. I didn't love the work that I did. I liked it, but I didn't love it. And I always felt like something was missing. Now that I do exactly what I love, I feel like I'm in alignment, and my best leadership potential is now coming out. So take a quick audit of your career and kind of consider where you are right now. Are you at a point where you need to grow? Are you at a point where you're stuck? Are you at a wall? Are you at a ceiling? Have you hit a lid? The second thing to do is to start to build your executive brand. And this is something that we do in the Executive Career Accelerator really well. We help people actually create their brand. And we have examples like sizzle reels that we do for people that are minute-long videos that are just great explainers of who they are, an introduction of themselves. And we also help people get very clear about what their beliefs are, their values, their morals, and those come out in their thought leadership. And that thought leadership leads to people being aware of them in a different way than they were before. And this is really important. When you put yourself out there, as an executive, as a leader, and people see you that way, that's going to change all of the opportunities that you're seeing. People will see you differently if you put yourself out there differently. Now, it may not happen inside of your organization. They may have a mental image of you that is static from years ago, but in other organizations, out on LinkedIn and other places, people who don't know you, they will see you as this new version of yourself. And so it's really important that you start to build this executive brand for yourself so that people can see you as the person you are. And third, commit to growing, right? All of us can grow in executive presence, which is our ability to stand up in a room and have people pay attention to what we say. We can grow in our communication skills. We can grow in our ability to understand the people around us. We can grow in our strategic mindset and our ability to see and set vision for an organization. We can grow in our ability to create opportunities that weren't there before. We can grow in our ability to see around the corner and know what the future brings. This is why 2025 is a really interesting inflection point to me. Now more than ever, it's time for us to take the leap and grow. Because in 2025, if you're not growing, well, then you're going to be average. And average ain't going to cut it in a couple of years. Now, you already have inside of you what it takes to be successful. And 2025 is the year to go ahead and actually allow that to come out of yourself. You have to do scary things in order to do great things. If you want something to change, something has to change. If you are sitting there saying to yourself, damn it, I just don't know what to do, it's because you're paralyzed with fear. You know what you need to do. You know what you need to do. You need to go start putting yourself out there. You need to go start training yourself and teaching yourself how to be a leader, how to be an executive. You need to find people in a community who can help you grow as a leader. You know you need these things in order to move forward, but you're afraid that that will fail. And that will lead you to not only shame in yourself, but also having less money than you had in the first place. And I totally understand that. The reality is that we all have to be growing, and growing with community, growing with coaches helping you, that's always going to go faster and easier than growing on your own. Either way, whether you grow on your own or you grow with community, grow. This is the year to grow for so many reasons. So that's what I have for you today. A little bit of a wake-up call, realizing that now is the time. Not last year, not next year. Now is the time for you to grow into being an executive and a leader. I hope this was helpful to you, and I will see you in another one.